Hey there, entrepreneur. You're listening to Scale to Sell, the business owner's podcast to grow and exit your business, where we share with entrepreneurs like you the tactical and practical things you can do so that you can win at work and life. I'm Adam Burton, part of the father-son duo behind the Scale to Sell podcast, and I, along with my dad, Steve, and the rest of our team, we're on a mission to help business owners like you get the clarity they need to grow and exit their businesses successfully. Now, before we get into the episode, we have an exclusive opportunity for you. Most business owners don't know the real value of their business, making it difficult to determine where to focus their efforts in growing their company and determining when's the right time for them to exit on their terms. Having a business valuation is key to the growth and sale of your business in so many ways. That's why we're offering our listeners here the opportunity to get a free business valuation done by our real mergers and acquisitions specialists. Simply go to scale2sell.com/discovery. That's scale2sell.com/discovery, or click the link in the show notes to request your 15-minute call to get that easy process started. We'll find out a bit about your company, connect you with our M&A team, and get you that valuation that can help provide clarity on the health and the opportunity of your business. Again, go to scale2sell.com/discovery to get started. This is episode 13, 5 Myths of Exit Planning for Business Owners. So have you ever made a decision, you listening or you, Steve, only to find out later that you didn't have all the information, right? You weren't really making a fully informed decision. It's kind of like the worst thing, right?
And it happens all the time, actually.
Yeah, for sure. For a number of reasons, right? So maybe you were missing a piece of information, right? You didn't have all the facts. Maybe you had an inaccurate piece of information that influenced your choice and which way you went. Maybe it was an assumption turned out to not be the case, or maybe, like for many people, it's following conventional wisdom, and it turns out, like most of the time, to really not be real, to not be super helpful. So in this episode, we're going to uncover 5 myths of exit planning that could really hurt you both personally and professionally if you were to fall trap to them. So think of this as like the stop sign, the warning sign, the caution, hazardous roads ahead. So Steve, the first one we're going to talk about is myth number 1. If I'm not looking to exit my business now or in the near future, then exit planning isn't for me. Why is that a myth?
Because you want to make sure at any point in time your business is ready to sell. If you do that, if you run with that idea in mind of I'm ready to exit at any time, that way if something happens, you get an accident, there's an illness, or you're ready to go, you're ready to retire, then you got everything lined up and it's ready for market and you don't have to do that much. So you always, whether it's the business is brand new, I'd say maybe after a year or two being in business, then you want to start, planning with the end in mind. Kind of catchy, right? We talk about that all the time. But you always want to make sure that your business, it's not just, well, I think I'm going to retire in 10 years or 20 years. I'll get around to that. By making your business marketable today, it's more profitable, it's more valuable, and you have a better quality of life.
Yeah, we get this idea that exit planning comes up when you're ready to exit, but we've said it before on here, and it's worth repeating in every episode, right? Exit planning is good business planning. The things that are going to set yourself up for a good quality exit on your own terms are the things that are going to make your business stronger currently, right? And lead to a better place where you're able to have more time freedom, more financial freedom. When you're thinking with the end in mind and you're scaling with the end in mind, you're able to not only help yourself out now while you're growing the business, but you're setting yourself up for whenever you're ready, whether it's because of an incident or because you've got something else, the next chapter of your life, you're ready. And that's something that too many people miss. They think of exit planning as, well, I'll think about that when I'm ready to get out. But that's really a short-sighted perspective.
It is, and especially I say with burnout. I was talking to somebody recently. They thought their business worth X, and they were counting on it being worth X. And burnout has set in about a year ago, and our conversation, we're ready to go. Well, if they were ready to go and had everything valued and measured and structured, one, they could have exited a year ago. Now they're waiting. Their numbers are down. They're trying to get their numbers back up, and that's a recipe for disaster. There's so many reasons to have and make sure that your business is ready to exit at any time.
Absolutely. So myth number 1 was, if I'm not looking to exit my business now, exit planning isn't for me. Myth number 2, if I'm doing an internal transfer of the business, someone in the company, maybe a family member, a key employee, I don't need an exit team or a written plan. Why is it so crucial to have that plan, even an exit team, for someone during an internal transition when you already know who the buyer is going to be?
Well, you assume sometimes that if it's, let's say it's one of your children or a couple of them, as we've seen sometimes, and you're assuming that your employees will relate to your children as they relate to you. Well, if you turn the keys over to them, all of a sudden now you're losing some key employees because we're not working. That's one of the reasons. Are they capable? Are your children or that internal person capable of doing everything that you're doing right now? Well, unless you've had an exit plan put in place, they may not, and you may not get your money out of it. So a lot of times if you do an internal sale, you self-finance it. There are programs out there that we have put together where you can harvest a lot of your equity all at one time and maybe finance a much smaller portion to lower the risk. So it's a risk of losing key employees if things aren't structured right. There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Well, and 2, people get the assumption that if they're doing an internal transfer, that it's just as simple as changing the name on the president or the CEO's door or the nameplate on their desk, and act as if that's what their transition is going to look like. And there's a lot more that goes into it than that, both in terms from the systems and processes internally, but also client facing, and making sure that your clients and prospective clients understand that the quality the company is continuing on in the same type of service, the same characteristic that they've come to know and expect is going to be there. There's a lot more that goes into it, and having that team that's been there and done that really helps you understand what steps need to be done so that nothing gets overlooked and you don't end up with one of these tragic situations.
It's true. The clients, they don't know, maybe they don't know, or they don't trust. It's the unknown. The fear of the unknown that causes employees to leave, and sometimes, as you mentioned, clients to leave.
Yeah. So this brings us to myth number 3. If I have a large income, I'll be able to get a lot for my business. In other words, we might say it like this, that income equals transferable value. Why is that not the case?
Because sometimes if you're the key person running the business and you're the engine, you're the everything, without you, the business crumbles and there's no value. There's a difference between profitability and value. Values those systems and processes and people and teams and everything in place, lined up in a system to make it valuable. You can have somebody that's making $1 million, $2 million, making big income, nice income, solid income, and maybe have done it for years. But the business is not structured properly, that somebody else, they're not buying you. They're not buying you. They're buying your client base, intellectual property, all kinds of things. It's not just you. So it's not just the income you're making. It's not just the numbers to the corporation. You may be, hey, we're trending up, we're killing it in this economy. But if your process is your clients, too centrally based on one client or a few clients, there's so many things that's not necessarily true. It is a myth.
Yeah. I think it's really important to understand that oftentimes business owners see themselves as the most important person in their business, and that's really not where you want to be. It's not that you're not adding value. It's not that you don't need to be out there casting a vision and helping your team develop and reach those goals. But if the growth of your company is so dependent on you, the business owner, it's going to be really hard for you to get the value out of it that you're wanting and needing for that next chapter of your life, if it really is solely dependent on, I show up, I make the deals happen, we grow because of that, rather than I've helped develop a team. The team is able to implement these things and we're able to grow as we continue to develop that way. I think that's a really important one, and something that it's easy to overlook because they conflate their income or the profitability of the company with the transferable value.
All the time. They look at it all the time.
So myth number 1 was, if I'm not looking to exit the business now or in the near future, exit planning isn't for me. Myth number 2, if I'm doing an internal transfer of the business, I don't need an exit team or written plan. Myth number 3, if I have a large income, I'll be able to get a lot from business. Myth number 4, the multiple that you could get for your business is consistent in your industry. So in other words, if I'm in the tech space, then tech companies get this multiple, X, whatever it is, 7, 10, whatever that multiple is. And it's almost like you're treating it like that's a static number. Why is that a myth?
Because you could be best in class and that be the number, or you could be worst in class and it's way off. The multiples can vary dramatically. Well, you're worst in class, so you'll be lucky to liquidate this business. Maybe you can get a multiple of twice, 2 times, 2x. Or maybe you're middle of the class and you get 4 to 6x. Or maybe you're best in class and you get 10x. Think about the numbers. It could be millions of dollars in difference right there. And if you're counting on the exit, that money from that sale to top off your retirement tanks and head off into the sunset, it can vary dramatically and people don't know. That's why, and even if you've had the business valued, was it by a credentialed expert in the field?
And how recent was it?
That's true too. A lot of business brokers, they don't, in a lot of states, anybody can call themselves a business broker. I'm not a business broker. I have M&A experts, people that are well credentialed in the industry that do those estimates of value. And sometimes the estimate of value, Adam, that we've come across is close. It's pretty, sometimes we've seen it be low. Your business is really worth $2-3 million more than what they told you. Here is why, and we have proof of it. Or it's way out of whack. There's no way you're going to get that kind of number. So you want to make sure that you're working with a credentialed M&A expert, and we have those on our team.
Well, and part of that goes back to understanding where your business is at in terms of the real value. Yeah, which is what we're going to come to in just the next point, actually. But that goes back to the need of, even if you're doing an internal transfer or external, doesn't matter, having that team to be able to give you the insight to show you where your business is at in comparison to others is so crucial, not just for the individual value, but for the multiple that you could get based on the quality of your business, the structure, the assets that are a part of it. All of those things put together impact what the business owner is going to be able to get. And having clarity about that is crucial.
Hey, think about this. We've said this since show 1. Only 20% of all small businesses ever successfully sell. Only 20%. It means 80% don't. Well, that tells you something's wrong here, and you might want an expert team, a team of experts to help you out.
And I think even worse than that is that 20% that does successfully sell. We've said this one before too. 70% of that 20%. So you're talking about a fraction of the people that ever really sell their business anyway. Of that number, that small percent, the vast majority are unhappy with the way that whole transfer went down, either because of professional reasons, right? Like that it didn't go down the right way. They didn't get what they should have because they missed out on some opportunities, didn't have the right clarity to make wise choices there, didn't plan properly, or they didn't plan personally. And so again, having that exit team.
You only play golf so many times a week, or fish or whatever it is. Have a true plan so that when you exit, so no doubt. Think about those stats. It's worth going back to. 20% of businesses ever successfully sell, and of those, to Adam's point, 70% of them, of the 20%, are unhappy after a year because of money, or they didn't have a plan of action, what to do with their time once they exited the business.
Yeah, exiting your business is kind of a big deal, personally and professionally. We should probably get it right. This takes us to point number 5. Our myth number 5 is the value of my business is going to be largely based on the physical, tangible assets of the company, things like the equipment, the inventory, etc. Why is that not true?
There's so many things that come into that. That's part of it. I've seen businesses that really the value was the real estate because there was no other structure or processes. It was there, liquidate the inventory, sell the real estate, that's it. All right. But there's so many other things that come into here. We talk about intellectual property, right? Strategy, systems that you've developed, that reputation in the community. There's so many things here that bring added value, that make you best in class or above average, or at least not the worst in class type model right there. But there's so many things that you don't measure, don't show up on a profit and loss or a balance sheet that really come into play here.
We were talking recently to one of our business coaches who's out in the Midwest, and he was talking to us about one of the business owners that he's in contact with, working with. And the business owner he is the premier landscaper in his area. Like, if you are anything business, residential, you're going to his company to get work done. Like, that is the reputation in the community. It's a big deal. And he made the comment to our business coach, associate of ours, talking about how when he's ready to exit the business, basically the value that he's going to get is from the work trucks, the equipment that he's done. And we were standing back and we're like, it's almost shocking, but so many business owners think this way. They miss out on the fact that their client base, their reputation, the way that they do business, all of those things are a valuable part of their business. And if you're short-sighted, or you just don't know to think of it in a different way, you could really limit what you could get from your business because of what you think someone is buying in this transition process, right? We talk about the intangible capitals.
The secret sauce of your business, what makes you different and to stick out, that people will pay an increased multiple for that special secret sauce, or whatever phrase you want to call it.
Absolutely. We talk about the intangible capitals, right? Like the human capitals of our teams and how they work together, the processes in place, the structural capital, the customer capital, the social capital, or the culture of the business, and how that drives progress and opportunity there. All of those things can be easily overlooked if you don't recognize them, and if you don't know how to value them. You could really be shortchanging your exit, which is definitely not good.
I've seen businesses buy somebody else because of their systems, their processes they had in place that was unique to them, that they paid a higher multiple for. Yes, we're buying your business, but we're really buying this, buying you for this because we see great value in that.
Okay. And so I know we said we're going to do 5 myths, but we like to over deliver. So we have a bonus myth that we've referenced a little bit, but we need to drive this one home because too many people have fallen into this myth, this trap here. They'll say, I'll just exit my business when I'm ready or if I get burned out. Like, they're going to be able to exit their business immediately, like walk into work that day and be like, okay, I'm done, ready for me to exit, and just be able to end it right there. Why is that not a myth? And it's almost comical to say, but we hear it way too often. Why is that a myth, and why is that a problem to think that way?
There's very few businesses that are ready to sell on any given day, right? You got to make sure the books are squared away, that's given. But the process, documented processes for how do you handle your employees, how you're whatever industry you're in, how you operate, it just takes a while, and it's not, because then we have to get information from the business owner. Yes, check that one off the box. They're in good order there. We're good. Tweak that out a little bit. Sometimes it's an overhaul, and with business owners, they're putting out fires, they're getting this going, they're getting payroll done, they've got this client that they've got to get a job done for. So it takes some time in just making sure everything is in order to get that top dollar. It's not as easy as planting a for sale sign in the front yard of your house and being able to sell the house in 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it might be.
The average exit time, we say, is typically for the mid-range level of businesses, right? It's typically 9 months to a year, right? So the idea that you could walk in the next day and be like, well, I'm done, and like turn over the keys is just wrong. And why wait till you're at the point where you're exhausted, you're frustrated with the way things are going because you're not sure how to handle them, to solve those problems? Why wait till you're at a place of desperation to try to negotiate one of the biggest deals of your life, which is you're exiting in the business and being able to harvest your investment from the business to fund that next chapter of your life.
And it's the economy and it's other things, the
Yeah.
cost of funds and getting things lined up and finding the buyer. It's just, it takes a while to make sure you get the right people. Sometimes don't want to sell their business to just anybody. They build a reputation. They like that reputation sometimes to carry on and go forward. So it takes a while to match everything up, systems, processes, people in place, doing it properly so you don't spook your teammates and you chase your clients away, and make sure you get the top number. We just want to make sure we bring as much value to you to make this typically a lot of times once in a lifetime decision. It's your baby. And we want to make sure that you get top dollar and or you exit on your own terms.
Absolutely. So please, if you're listening to this, do not fall victim to these 5 plus a bonus myth of exit planning for business owners, right? Thinking that you don't need to consider exit planning now if you're not looking to immediately exit your business. Thinking that you don't need an exit team or a plan if you're doing an internal transfer. Thinking that a large income from the business automatically translates to big transferable value on your exit. Thinking the multiple is the same for businesses in your industry, regardless of the quality, right? Not a thing. Thinking the value of your business is mainly tied to the physical, tangible assets of the company, and missing out on all of those intangibles that we talked about. And then, of course, the bonus, thinking that you should only consider the exit when you're ready, when you're feeling exhausted, when you're ready to be done with it. That's really not the time to do it. We need to be thinking about it now, immediately, thinking through some of those concerns and being able to plan for it. So if you like this episode and you want to hear more from Scale to Sell, please follow the show on your favorite podcast platform of choice so that you never miss an episode. As a new and growing podcast, rating and reviewing the podcast would be incredibly helpful so that more entrepreneurs like yourself can find our content and join our growing community. And remember, if you haven't signed up for the Business Builder Thursday weekly guide, or you would like to book that discovery call to get that free estimate of value, that free business valuation done, go to scale2sell.com. That's scale2sell.com, or click the link in the show notes below. Until next time, keep scaling.